Thank you so much, Arun, for for helping us. Also, I would like to thank Rotary Club of Chennai Mitra for sponsoring today's Zoom account. So when we were requesting for the Zoom, so Rotary Club of Chennai Mitra came forward to support the Zoom account, and the support from Rotarian Srinivasan Balaraman. So this is a special note for our senior Rotarian Srinivasan Balaraman. So thank you so much, sir, again for supporting us in this. So we also have with us our President-elect of Rotaract South Asia MDIO, Rotarian Rotaractor Daryl D'Souza. Daryl D'Souza, if you could address for 1 minute.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, Daryl, go on.
Yeah, thank you, Kiran. And I'm very happy to have this very own meet of us. So, which is one thing which the ISTs and everyone could connect. And we have John. Thank you, John, for joining. And I'm very proud that we have one very special guest who can address and who can motivate us. So, this is one thing which we all should encourage that our road tractors are future leaders. And this meet would give them an opportunity to grow themselves and they would know what is the connection between or beyond the borders. So, and we have this RSA as 8 countries, and we are representing our own international borders. So, thank you, John, and thank you everyone who have made this meet a very successful one. I can see 455 members joining in with large numbers. So, thank you, everyone, and hope to see you all soon and enjoy the session. Thank you, and hope to see you all soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Daryl, for again welcoming all of us. So yeah, I won't take much time. It's already 13 minutes. So once again, I welcome all the participants across South Asia for this session. Hope you will definitely uh, be with us and hear what John tells, because John has almost 15 plus years of experience in the Rotary International office. And I think he's the right man to motivate us. He has seen the up and downs both in Rotary and Rotaract, and yeah, that is how we ended up with John Speaker. So thank you once again and welcome you all for the event. Over to you, John.
Thank you so much. I think there are a couple of themes that I heard in just this introduction alone that I'd like to highlight a little bit later on. And so I'm going to go through a few slides that I prepared just to kind of give you a sense of where we see connections and opportunities to go beyond the boundaries of your own club experience, and then open it up for conversation or for anybody here who has some grand examples of how they participate as well along this theme. But as Kiran mentioned, as Daryl mentioned, as Aaron mentioned, getting here was done through connections and opportunities to have met in person or to have reached beyond the region that I typically would represent. I usually work with the United States, so it's a very nice opportunity to go beyond my own boundary to be with you this evening. The main things that I want to point out to everybody are the changes that have happened to Rotaract experience over the last couple of years. Hopefully we're getting to a point now where we can stop using the word elevate Rotaract, because it already happened back in 2019, for those of you who have been around for a little while, to really start talking about Rotaract itself, the Rotaract experience. Many of our newer members don't know what the experience was before. And so we really want to focus in on what the current experience is and what it might become. To do that, to talk about connection, to talk about reaching beyond your borders and boundaries, it's important, I think, to start looking at the most local level before you start to graduate into other parts of Rotary. And so what I've tried to do is talk a little bit about websites and product access, and then we'll talk about district level and then regional level experiences as well. The main thing that's really helpful for us to help connect you to the rest of the Rotary world is by having assurance that you've created your My Rotary account. So my.rotary.org is the official website of Rotary International, and where a lot of the beginning phases of connections can begin. There are many products that are being worked on and released continuously by the organization, some of which I hope to highlight today, but as one of the initial steps in making sure that we took the Rotaractor experience and created as close to a Rotarian experience as possible, was to start collecting more information from clubs. Prior to 2022, we only recorded a club president and a club advisor, and only those two individuals had access to my Rotary. But now we are not only able to collect those two roles, but every role at the level of club level leader. So any of the roles that you see on screen here, the tricky thing about this is that they have to be reported annually. And so ideally, leading into December or so, your clubs, both Rotary and Rotaract, would have selected its next slate of officers and club leaders, and then reported it to Rotary International by that point. By doing that around that time of year, it helps us make sure that you're connected in time for Presidents-elect training sessions that take place usually beginning in January, often February, everywhere around the world. And then also just make sure that people are connected to the additional staff. There are about 800 people who work for Rotary International on a global level. And each one of our teams and departments has a very unique and special relationship with a lot of the people that you see listed on the screen here. And so to make sure that these individuals are connected with the right support can extend that experience beyond the boundaries of your club or even your club grouping or district, or however it is organized in your most local level. We know that it's difficult for a club who hasn't reported an officer to get them reported sometimes. And so we rely on other people in the club and district level. If an immediate past officer is able to help notify Rotary, your current governor, district Rotaract representative or chair, or district executive secretary can all send an email to data@rotary.org if you're struggling with getting this information updated. At the same time, each of those roles, and I'll go back a screen, each one of these roles can help set goals in a tool called Rotary Club Central. I know that it sounds like it's for Rotary clubs, and originally it was, but now we're taking that Rotary and making it a capital R, a big R Rotary, to include Rotary International overall. So both Rotary clubs and Rotaract clubs can log into this tool, set goals for themselves for the year ahead, mark their achievements for the year ahead or the year ongoing. You can actually plan 3 years in advance now. We just released an update that unlocks these goals for 3 years into the future. So these people right now can help pave the way for the future successes of your club. This is also tied to an award called the Club Excellence Award, which is formerly known as the Rotary Citation, which before that was called the President's Citation. So even though the name has changed a little bit over the last decade, the importance of it is that it's measuring your club's health, how you're doing at not only setting these goals, but accomplishing them, and really giving you an opportunity to look at how you are achieving or maybe underachieving or overachieving those goals for your club. More information about that should have been sent out to you by email, but we've also posted on my Rotary about that, and you're going to continue to get some updates about Rotary Club Central and goal setting. The nice thing about that tool is you can really start to not only focus on your own club's experience, but you can refer to other clubs in your region or even around the world to see how many have set a goal in a certain category, what the achievement rate looks like for everybody around the world. It'll also give you a pretty accurate head count of the number of members that are in both Rotary and Rotaract around the world. So if you're ever just thinking or trying to describe to somebody in your community how many Rotaractors there are in the world, you can go look at the trends on that page, and that number updates daily. We as an organization send our regional leadership and some district leadership monthly reports, but Rotary Club Central tracks daily changes. Since the elevation of Rotaract, we have staff that have also been working on enhancing our experiences in supporting you. So previously, Rotaract had been a program and was supported by our Programs for Young Leaders team. And they still do support Rotaract, but they also support Interact, Rotary Youth Leadership Awards, or RILA, and Youth Exchange. And so now this portfolio of Rotaract has spread among the entire staff, both Rotary International and Rotary Foundation. And so we've been working to enhance your experience through the things that we support. So like I mentioned here, things like Rotary Club Central. You'll see at the bottom of this list a tool called Service Project Center that's new for all of our members. It launched just in our summer months here. And it is a tool that replaced another one that was called Rotary Showcase. And prior to that, another tool called Rotary Ideas. This tool, Service Project Center, allows you to post a project that you're working on or hope to work on or have completed. And it allows you to connect with other Rotarians and Rotaractors around the world to look for resources, to look for assistance, or to show off the completion of your project. This is one of the things that I think really helps identify something beyond borders. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a later section of my PowerPoint. Other functions that have come in looking through making connections would be this first item here, the ability to search for other Rotaractors and Rotarians and view each other's profiles on My Rotary. So I hope some of you know, if not all of you know, that your online account comes with a profile where you can fill in your Rotary resume. You can also put a little bit of detail about yourself, share things like your contact information if you want to, or privatize any of those items so that it's only within your club's view. You get to control what that level of experience is like and how you would like to engage with other members throughout the organization. Other things that you see here that are enhancements that may not be known to you, but will one day, are things like district profile pages on My Rotary have now included Rotaract clubs and membership counts. District dashboards include Rotaract data. There's been a complete refresh of the way that we do administration for Rotaract on My Rotary. So rather than sending in forms and waiting for staff to address things, a lot of the power lies with you to be able to add members, remove members, change their status from active to honorary, and to do all of these other new experiences on the website that we just talked about. You'll soon, actually, I should go back one more moment. That second to last bullet point, membership management, doesn't just imply the addition and subtraction of your members. There's another tool called, that we talk about, our website leads program. So a person who comes to the Rotary website and clicks on the join button doesn't automatically join a Rotaract club or a Rotary club. They mostly share their interest in joining their experience. And pretty soon we'll be launching an updated version of that tool and process. So you'll get some information about that. But the idea is that if somebody in the general public wants to apply to be a member of your club, it starts to capture information about them before they reach your doorstep. The other opportunity that exists there is if you have a club member that's leaving because they're moving across country or out of country, you could prompt a club in their new location to say, we're sending somebody to you. There's a really good member available to you, and here's their information. And they can maintain a seamless experience as they transition from one phase of their life to the next. We've been able to, just here, as I talked about, upgrade this tool. It's expected to come in the coming months or so. So please pay attention to your emails as they come to you. And also make a habit of logging onto My Rotary where we have different announcements that are available. I do see a hand up. Is it okay if we pause here and take that question?
Yes, John, you can go ahead.
Able to, let's have you unmute. Hi.
John, you can continue. I think it's by miss.
Oh, okay. If you do end up having questions, feel free to let me know, or feel free to stop me as I talk, or put them in the chat so we can address them in a little bit as well. I talked a little bit about Service Project Center a moment ago. Again, a new tool that's been released to both Rotarians and Rotaractors at the same time. And that activity is really meant to help connect clubs who are working on projects, or to show off the ones that have been completed, and to offer advice on how another club might replicate that experience. And that leads us into talking about Rotary Grants, which is relatively new to Rotaract clubs. In June of 2020, our trustees of the Rotary Foundation made some decisions that talked about permitting Rotaract clubs to begin going through the global grant process to either be the international or host sponsor of a global grant. And that went into effect on July 1st of 2022. So just a couple of years ago. There were some provisions that your club would have needed to have partnered with a Rotary Club on a global grant before. Those qualifications can be updated over time. So my recommendation is to pay attention to or visit rotary.org/grants. And it'll tell you everything you need to know about the experience or the potential experience that you could have. The Grant Center itself, which is our online tool for actually managing and applying for grants, now has the ability for Rotaractors to be formally recognized as a donor or a partner on a global grant application. And then the rights and privileges that you enjoyed as a Rotaractor as program participants still remain the same. So you could still apply to be Peace Fellows and continue to traverse the world in those respects. Since 2022, we've seen some grant activity. I think this is one of our best kept secrets right now, that your clubs have this ability to work with your regional grants officers or global grant officers in the Rotary Foundation, another group of staff members, to produce something big, to take your ideas and grow them into a much bigger experience. As of October of 2024, so just about a month ago, 4 global grants had been awarded that involved Rotaract clubs as either the host sponsor or the international sponsor. And that's a significant number. Global grants take a long time to put together, they take a long time to implement, and they take a long time to follow up on and make sure that they're carried through responsibly and sustainably. And so the work that we've seen in these last 2 years sounds like it is a small number, but it really is a big and major step for Rotaractors the world over. Now, as I mentioned, there is a host sponsor, and then there's an international sponsor of a global grant. And so in these instances, you can kind of see where that activity happens. These are the 4 programs that are going on right now. And this really does put people on other sides of the world together. So our first opportunity that's happening here in Mongolia is hosted by a Rotary Club nearby, but it's co-sponsored by, or the international sponsor is in Japan. You can see this for the other 2 here. Pink identifies, or cranberry identifies Rotaract, and blue identifies the Rotary clubs that's involved. There's even a district that's involved. 5580, which is here in the United States, is working on something with a group in the Netherlands. So this is another example, I think probably the shiniest example of reaching beyond the boundaries of, or the borders of, your club experience and really affecting a change somewhere else in the Rotary world. That said, again, that takes a lot of work to put together. It might be simpler or a little bit more attractive to a club, especially a smaller club or a newer club, to focus on the local community by utilizing district grants. And district grants are something that are issued out to districts. So you have to prepare a little statement to get it into your district, or whatever their local process is, to then apply for grant activity for any given Rotary year. As of right now, based on fiscal years 23 through 25, 300 separate line items in district grant applications supported activities sponsored by Rotaract clubs, fiscal year 25 being the one that we're currently in and ending now. That total budget amount was over $500,000 US. And it included Rotaract clubs from 27 different countries around the world that are participating in district grants. Our top few here are Brazil, Japan, the Philippines, and the United States. But we anticipate that this will grow even further beyond that as more clubs really get a sense of what they'd like to do for their immediate community. Supporting grants is something that is really important to us as a staff, and hopefully is going to be important to you as a club. I'm a Rotarian myself. I'm a Rotarian of 12 years. I had to join Rotary when I was younger because I was already too old at the time to join Rotaract, because there used to be the age limit. And so I was a young Rotarian for quite a while, and I do understand that supporting grants or issuing or writing a grant application takes time. And sometimes there are years where it's a little bit difficult to do that part of the activity, to support our community in that way. Not impossible, but just difficult. And so what I also try to maintain and what I try to encourage my own club to do is really continue to support the Rotary Foundation by making donations to something like the annual fund. The annual fund share is an opportunity for your club to basically invest in the future projects of your club and your district and the Rotary world. When you make a donation to the annual fund share, that investment is that funding or that money is invested for 3 years by the Rotary Foundation. And after 3 years, it comes back in the form of district grants and then something called the World Fund, which helps match up with global grants. And so if you are feeling a little overwhelmed by doing something this particular year, you can still start to invest in that future experience. And there's more information on Rotary's website. I wish I worked for the Rotary Foundation sometimes just so I could be a little bit more well-versed in all of that activity. But they have some wonderful resources that talk about how to be supportive of these experiences. One thing that I left with my club, I just gave a presentation last night actually to my club about the Rotary Foundation, is that even if we don't see the potential benefit of making these donations to the annual fund share program, somebody somewhere else in the world will. So we're benefiting somebody elsewhere in the Rotary world. We're helping each other out. We're connecting with people beyond our own needs in any particular Rotary year. That kind of takes you through some of the sort of district level things or community level things that your club might be able to do. But I also like to talk about regional events, things that happen that are designed for a little bit larger of a scale. And so there are many wonderful opportunities out there. So many that I only listed 3 here. One is the President's-elect Training Seminar, or PETS. And I do know that some districts are really strong in supporting Rotaractors participating. Some are learning how to be a little bit more supportive and getting participation from Rotaractors. But this is an opportunity, or any other opportunity that your district is able to put together that brings people together. It's a fantastic opportunity to hear from other people in your position or your counterparts in another position on what their successes are and what their struggles are, and really sharing that experience. And one thing that I actually think I would add before President's-elect training, and now I'm amending it in my mind, would be just doing club visits, visiting another Rotaract club in your region, or if you have the ability to travel beyond your own home area, visiting a Rotaract club somewhere else in the world. When I go out on trips, I also try to make it to Rotary Club meetings and just see what that experience is like so that I can know if I can come home and adjust something in the way that our club practices, or really be able to highlight and say, hey, this thing is happening somewhere else in the world too. District conference is another opportunity for members of all types and family members to come together and really celebrate the year that's happened and prepare for the year ahead. And that's a wonderful opportunity to make better connections or strengthen your existing connections at the district level. And I would push that a little further and talk about the Rotary Institute, something that's usually tethered to governor's-elect training in sort of our autumnal months. So maybe August through early December or so, there's usually an event happening like this somewhere in the world. And it's a wonderful opportunity to not only connect with other people, but to learn with each other along the way. It's a very educational experience. And so if your club is able to help support you in getting to any of these opportunities, or if there are Rotary clubs in your region or sponsoring clubs that work alongside you to help support you in getting to one of these experiences, I would highly encourage that. There's another opportunity that exists out there, and I know somebody brought it up in the chat just a moment ago, although I think that was a little bit private to me, but I'll still share this out loud, is that your region can put together an opportunity. The South Asia MDIO leadership has put together this conversation tonight. They also put together other learning opportunities and educational opportunities. And sometimes some groups have the ability to go a very large scale and bring people together in a space all at the same time. Rotaractors in Europe this year put together the inaugural Rotaract UN Days at the United Nations, something that Rotarians have done for a little while. You might hear about UN Day or Rotary UN Day or Rotary Day at the UN. Well, this year it was a Rotaract at the United Nations in Geneva. This took place at the tail end of October and the start of November, and about 200 participants from around the world, from about 50 countries around the world, gathered together to go through workshops, to hear from some very inspirational and very prominent speakers. They were able to interact with each other, not only here. Pictured here is the United Nations, but at WIPO, which is the World Intellectual Property Organization, and then also a lab called CERN, which has it's housing the Large Hadron Collider there in Geneva, and really hear from some thought leaders, but then also be able to express themselves in these bigger forums with some of the most, well-known and respected leaders in their own fields. Earlier in the introduction, we heard about Rotaractors being the leaders of the future, and something that was emphasized here and that we continue to try to emphasize as an organization is that Rotaractors are leaders of right now as well. Yes, we're anticipating and hoping that you'll continue your journey into a Rotary Club experience. But we also know that you are taking the lead on many projects and opportunities and events and other things that are bringing together a group of friends to do some good, whether that's actually doing a service project or helping another member of the community out, or focusing on each other's mental health by gathering together and sharing fun experiences. I know there's a group that I'm familiar with that just schedules regular walks through nature. They really get outside and enjoy not only nature around them, clean up some garbage along the way, but then have this shared experience of hiking a long distance with each other. Others put together game nights and that type of thing and really invite the community in. And when we see the community benefiting from our efforts, and when we see community members starting to join more frequently in our club experiences, hopefully they'll be able to eventually join as a member of either your Rotaract Club or another one nearby, so that they can continue to have those shared experiences and then connect other people to it as well. I don't have to convince you as a Rotaractor the importance and the excitement of an organization like Rotary International and what it's like to be a Rotaractor or a young Rotarian, which now I feel like I'm an old Rotarian based on some of our newer members. But I hope that you're able to capture that excitement and really describe it out to other people in these really kind opportunities. Looking a little bit on a larger scale, again, the things that I've just pointed out to you are things that our volunteer base has put together and really focused on in creating these connecting experiences. But Rotary International itself puts together a pretty exciting event each year, which I know is a little difficult to get to every single year, but that's okay. I think if there's ever an opportunity for you to participate at the Rotary International Convention, you really get to see the international part of our organization. When we say Rotary International, we really mean that it is truly international in over 200 countries and geographic areas. This is an opportunity for people to come together and celebrate the Rotary year that happened, to get excited and re-energized for the year ahead, and to hear from some incredible speakers, watch some very incredible entertainment, and connect with each other throughout breakout sessions, experiences like you see here in the House of Friendship, where you get to just enjoy each other's company and explore a new part of the world. We've been doing some surveys over the last couple of years with Rotaractors just to kind of gauge what their overall impressions were. And we asked Rotaractors and Rotarians to rate their agreement to some of the following statements: that they feel more committed to Rotary after attending the convention, that they were more motivated or inspired, that they learned something new, and that they plan to share any of the resources or ideas within their own network upon returning home. consistently we saw that Rotaractors felt more impact by attending things like our general sessions. They felt, they described more of an impact when compared to the data we received from Rotarians who completed our survey. We compared the reasons that they gave for attending the convention, what they hoped was to accomplish at each event. And in Melbourne, which was in May of 2023, Melbourne, Australia, we learned that Rotaractors had prioritized connecting with the Rotary community a little bit less than our Rotary Club members felt the need. However, they substantially placed more emphasis on seeing project exhibits in our House of Friendship, participating in breakout sessions, which are workshops, which are conversations like this, presentations, or experiencing the local city and local culture. And while the connection with the Rotary community overall wasn't the priority in Melbourne for a lot of our Rotaractors, connecting with the friends that they made in the Rotary community was ranked as the top accomplishment. They were able to reconnect with friends or make new connections through that network. It's a little different in Singapore, though. Interestingly, our Rotaractors attending that convention in May of 2024, 1 year later, expressed a different set of priorities when compared to their own counterparts in the year previous. By comparison, we learned that Rotaractors prioritized connecting with the Rotary community overall more. So more Rotarians, fellowships, action groups, and family members of Rotarians and Rotaractors, the Rotary family, you'll hear our president say. And the top accomplishment for Rotaractors was networking and meeting new friends. And while I can't exemplify that in video or in experience, it's really something that you kind of have to feel for yourself. That urge, that need to network and make new friends is ever present, not only at the Rotary International Convention, but at things like your district conferences and Rotary Institutes. And unfortunately, we're not able to fly everyone from around the world to an experience to enjoy the convention or any of these other experiences we talked about. We'd love to be able to offer that. But what we hope to do is prepare something that is worth the money and the effort that it took for you to get there. So if that's something that you're interested in doing, again, I would look into your local clubs, your Rotary clubs nearby, or other people who are looking for someone to sponsor in that experience, sponsor a flight or sponsor accommodations or even registration fees. There are people out there looking to be helpful and to be that connecting point to help you with your development as well. And then our responsibility, like I said, is to make sure that your money is worth it, the money that you spent, the time that you spent on an airplane getting to us. We want to make sure that we've given you the best experience possible. A little bit ago, about a week ago or so, I hopefully you would have received an email from Rotary asking you for your own thoughts on the Rotary International Convention and what you would like to see, what would draw you into that experience. That survey closes in about 24 hours. And so if you have received that link and were thinking about it, but haven't done so yet, I'd encourage you to do so to complete that. It takes about 3 minutes to complete. I made sure that it was very, very brief for you. You can learn more about the Rotary International Convention at convention.rotary.org. And I know that there are some people here tonight who have been a part of a convention before. And I wonder if we can open up the floor now for the next few minutes to have them share their own experiences about making these connections at an event like that or at an institute. And then after that, maybe we can address some questions if you have any. So with that, I'd like to open it up and see, is there anybody here who's been to a convention or has been to an institute and would like to share what that experience is like?
Okay. Hey, hi, John. I think I would love to, take it from here. And sorry, I'll probably stay closed on the video for now because I'm not in a really great state to turn on my video. But yes, a couple of things, right? Like you did speak a lot. You did mention about few of the Rotary experiences that you're creating for all the Rotaractors or in general for everybody to be part of. Uh, I know we did meet and you did also hang out with us during the Singapore convention. Generally, I do find that being a very fascinating time whenever people meet at conventions. Can you kind of give those stories of how people have been able to make connects, the things that happen beyond, probably outside the convention, not what happens at the convention is one part of it, and a large part of it is what we all do outside of that, probably that agenda of uh, 2-3 hours. So
Certainly.
maybe would you want to share a couple of stories around it and give us a
Sure,
little bit
yeah.
insight there?
And if you want to enhance that along the way, feel free to jump in. But Rotary International plans pretty much from your early morning until about dinner time, so around 5 p.m. or so. We have programming scheduled all day long with general sessions, which some people call plenaries, but it's a gathering of everybody into one arena to hear from a speaker or multiple speakers on something that's themed to the internal theme that we might have or the president might have for that day. And that happens each day of the event. Actually, we begin with a beautiful opening ceremony where dignitaries are introduced. There's a wonderful parade of the flags of our nations and the Rotary International flag, the one that unites all of our experiences together. And it's just done so beautifully. It's set to some really lovely music. It feels very grand and very exciting. As people are seated in the audience, they cheer really, really loud when their flag goes by. And so it's really fun to hear from the world that's been gathered. Then after general sessions, after these openings or the daily versions, there are breakout sessions that are scheduled throughout the entire day. And those are meant to be workshops or panel discussions or conversations that happen between our members. And those are led by Rotarians and Rotaractors all around the world gathered together. They were able to submit the subject that they wanted to talk about or expand upon, and then gather people into a same space and connect on that individual topic. We have other experiences, like I mentioned, our House of Friendship. It's basically a very large expo center filled with booths of projects, of fellowships, of RAGs, Rotary Action Groups. There's also licensed vendors there. It's a place to come that has nothing really scripted happening and nothing that's really prescribed. You enter that experience and you find your connections among that group. There are little things that are peppered around to begin conversations with other people to help you maybe get out of your shell. And then beyond those types of things that we establish as an organization, some dinners for our donors and other wonderful experiences that way, ticketed events, Rotarians and Rotaractors at the local level will often put together a slate of activities as well. So when we were in Singapore, when we were in Melbourne, the MDIOs that were there, the Rotaractors that were at the local level, put together a week's worth of events that happened after hours. And so in Singapore, I might be mixing the two experiences together, but my belief was there was a silent disco party where everyone put headphones on and then danced their own way to the same music. But if you were walking by, it was just a bunch of silence and people dancing. There were karaoke opportunities, dinners at the top of hotels with beautiful views of the area. All of those things are arranged by, again, local volunteers. And we as an organization help highlight those. But we also say, you know how to design experiences too. Let's see you flex your ability there. The main thing that I would have to say about connecting at an event like the convention is, as a first timer, it may be very intimidating. There's thousands upon thousands of people there. Sometimes we have 13,000 people. Other times we have 45,000 people at this event. And it can get a little overwhelming. So my recommendation to a first time attendee would be to walk in with some as open as possible to make sure that you're open to the excitement and the experience, to make sure that you also set some boundaries for yourself, to make sure that you're taking care of yourself mentally, to bring a handful of business cards or something that helps other people remember not only your conversation, but how to connect with you after the event closes and everybody returns home. You never know who's going to be the next project partner or the next visitor you see when you visit that location. And so I would say any of those experiences are designed to really bring the world together and to maintain these connections that have already been established while beginning new connections as well.
Yes.
I wonder. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Yes, thanks, John. I think, I mean, to add to probably a couple of things that you mentioned,
Sure.
those parties beyond the connections that were made beyond those parties, I still remember a bunch of us sneaked into a karaoke, uh, I mean, studio, or I don't know what is it called. But
Probably,
yeah,
I think you're right.
we went on, and then I think we never stopped. Like it was one round and then another round and then another round of karaoke sessions going on. And you did mention about the party that was there,
Yes.
uh, and so much. I mean, I think I cherish those connections so very well. You also did briefly talk about UN days, right? Like there were also a lot of Rotaractors this time. Can you give us a view about it? Because that's probably one event that came in from this year. Is it going to happen every year from now, or was
I'm
this
not
as a celebration of that 50 years? How is that?
That's a great question. I'm not actually sure how frequently it's going to happen, if it's every year or every other year. I know that this was the first one, and it was sort of testing the ability for Rotaractors to design something of this scale. I wish I knew more about the organization part of it, but it was handled by our volunteer base, and then Rotary supported it through advertisement and things like that. So I would say that as soon as I hear about any plans to move forward with it, I'll make sure that our MDIOs are known. And that's something that I should also share with the group. I help to try to connect the multi-district information organizations. We have a Teams channel for the leadership to connect with each other. And at the convention, we also try to plan a meeting of those leaders who are able to make it. Last year, we tried to do hybrid as well so that people could join from online. It didn't go as smoothly as I thought it could have, but I learned a lot of lessons about next year. But through that network, we'll be able to advertise things like this UN Day or other big events that are being planned by our Rotaractors everywhere around the world, especially if they're trying to open up the opportunity for people from other places to come and visit. And that was the big goal of this event. The organizers really wanted to reach beyond Europe, and their MDIO, which I believe is ERIC, the European Rotaractors. And so they wanted our assistance in getting people from South America, from the Americas, to travel around the world to visit them. And we did. We were able to see people from there, from Africa were joining, from some island nations as well. So a lot of wonderful work and effort. The group that put that together, if you're interested in learning more about the work that they did, they have a website that is just rotaractundays.com, I believe, and I'll put that into the chat in just a moment. And you're welcome to reach out to them to talk with them about what their excitements were, what their pitfalls were as well. Let me get that, rotaractundays.com. So it's there for you in the chat.
Okay.
But it was very exciting, very inspiring opportunity. And it was great to, again, look to this group and realize that the leaders of the future are actually leaders right now. They put this whole thing together with some assistance from Rotarians who had connections to some of these speakers and were able to get these big names in. But really the driving force, I feel, were the Rotaractors that were present.
Yeah, I think I mean, that's probably the power of Rotaract. We have constantly over the period of time seen Rotaractors always wow everybody when the opportunity is given to them, right? I think while for those who might have questions, or if you want to ask about anything, please feel free to raise your hand so that we can unmute you and you can ask a question. In the meantime, John, I have one other question which has been biting my tongue for a while now. That's you did talk about like various MDIOs. I mean, there are a bunch of them, right? Like so many, about 27, if I recall it right. But whatever. And a lot of regional conferences have been happening all over the world. And I am pretty sure you are somebody who know about all these various regional conferences that these MDIOs have been hosting, or the Rotaract regions themselves have been hosting with or without MDIs. Can you talk a little bit about some of those? Because I believe those are, again, great opportunities to go beyond boundaries for all the Rotaractors.
I would qualify this by saying there are about 26 active multi-district information organizations in Rotaract, so MDIOs around the world, and each of them tend to hold either in-person experiences or virtual experiences when the attendance rate is getting a little too big. So I know that this particular group, our Asia Pacific MDIO, also holds virtual experiences because they see thousands of people arrive and participate. For groups like ERIC, that European one, I believe that they have an in-person experience, I think, every 6 months or so. And again, the idea is for them to be able to draw people in to have these sort of institute-like experiences, educational experiences, but the gathering of people to share what they're working on, to workshop ideas. Those opportunities, once they become available, I'm trying to gather more information about them to come up with more of a schedule so I know what's going on, to help identify what those might be, who the intended audience is. But it's a very similar experience to what we're doing right now, which is just sharing information, sharing updates with each other, and then learning from each other along the way. I thought I saw a question come through the chat, but I'm not actually seeing where it might have landed. And Kieran, do you also have a time check? How much time do we have left for questions?
Yes, I think we.
Or am I still good? Okay.
I think we're good.
Okay.
And
I think just some final thoughts that I would have before turning it back over, just that there are so many opportunities to connect in your club beyond your own personal self, if you think of yourself as a border or a boundary. And then that just continues to grow. And the more that you rely upon or start connecting with people outside of your own comfort area, the more opportunity that becomes available then to you and to your club. The benefit is just so grand. And you make some incredible lifelong friends through these processes. I, again, had the joy of meeting you in person, Aaron, and a few other people as well. And then we've been able to stay connected. And so I really appreciate the opportunity that you took in relying on our connection to invite me to come and speak with the group tonight. So thank you so much for everybody for your time. If there are additional questions or anything that you think of after this experience, I'm happy to share my contact information. I believe I already have it in arranging this conversation. But then also, I would encourage you to check in with the club and district support team from your region. If you go to rotary.org/CDS, you can always find who your club and district support representatives are based on your district number. That's a team of people who work at the regional level and really have a good understanding of what's going on event-wise, but also just activity-wise. And then we all stay connected with each other across our offices. There are about 50 of us that work in club and district support. And so we're always updating each other on things as well. So thank you so much.
Yes, thanks, John. Over to you, Kiran.